The war had been over for 3 cycles, but the scars remained. The Galactic Council's flagship, Eternal Vigilance, drifted through the Obsidian Nebula on a mission that should have been routine: retrieve the survivors from the Battle of Cathera Prime and bring them home. Admiral Thalvor stood on the bridge, his forearms clasped behind his chitinous back, watching the debris field scroll past on the view screen. The Catheran Defense Fleet had fought valiantly, desperately against the Vorash invasion. They had lost. What remained were scattered hulks of warships and the faint distress beacons of those lucky enough to reach escape pods before their vessels turned to slag. "Sir, we're detecting a signal," his sensor officer chirped, mandibles clicking with excitement. "It's unusual. Multiple life signs clustered together." The beacon identifies them as Catharan juveniles. Thalvor's blood ran cold. Cubs. The Catharans called their young cubs, and they were sacred in their culture. If cubs had survived out here alone in the void, get me a visual, now. The screen flickered, and what appeared made even Thalvor's war-hardened heart skip a beat. Floating in a makeshift bubble of linked escape pods was a cluster of 17 Catharan cubs, fuzzy, wide-eyed creatures no bigger than a Terran child. They huddled together in the central pod, their striped fur matted and dirty. Emergency rations floated nearby, carefully rationed. Makeshift oxygen scrubbers hummed in the background, and commanding from the pod's entrance was a human. "What in the name of the ancestors here?" Thalvor breathed. The human was small by warrior standards, barely reaching the shoulder height of an average Catharan adult. Her dark hair was tied back in a practical knot, and her face bore the exhaustion of someone who hadn't slept properly in days. Her uniform was scorched and torn, identifying her as a combat medic from the Terran Relief Corps. But it was her eyes that caught Thalvor's attention. Sharp, alert, and absolutely unyielding. "Hail them," Thalvor ordered. The communication line crackled to life. "This is Admiral Thalvor of the Eternal Vigilance, representing the Galactic Council. Identify yourself." The human's image appeared on screen. She snapped to attention despite her obvious fatigue. "Corporal Rhea Chen, Terran Relief Corps, attached to the Catharan Third Fleet. Sir, I have 17 Catharan juveniles in my care. They're stable but require immediate evacuation." "Understood, Corporal. We're moving to retrieve you now." Thalvor paused, studying her. "Tell me, who is responsible for these cubs? Where are the adult Catharans?" Rhea's jaw tightened. "Dead, sir. All of them. The command ship took a direct hit. The adults got the cubs into the escape pods before the end. I was treating wounded on the medical frigate when we took fire. My pod was blown into the same trajectory as theirs." "And you've been caring for them alone? For how long?" 11 days, sir, 11 days. The number hung in the air like an accusation. Thalvor had seen veteran officers break under less strain. "Corporal, I need to speak with whoever is in command of those cubs. Catharan protocol requires—" "I am in command, sir." Thalvor blinked all 4 of his eyes in succession. "You, but you're human, yes, sir. The cubs needed someone. I was here. But surely the cubs would follow one of their own kind, someone who understands their—" "Permission to demonstrate, Admiral?" Thalvor gestured his assent, curiosity overtaking protocol. Rhea turned away from the camera. Through the viewport, Thalvor could see her move among the cubs with practiced efficiency. She checked each one, running her hands over their fur, looking into their eyes, speaking in soft tones. But more telling was their response. The cubs didn't just tolerate her presence, they gravitated toward her. One of the smallest ones, barely more than a kit, chirped and pressed against her leg. She absently scratched behind its ear while adjusting another's oxygen mask. Then she raised her hand, a simple gesture. Every single cub immediately went still and silent, their large eyes fixed on her. "Admiral," Rhea said, turning back to the camera, "would you like to ask them yourself?" Thalvor felt his mandibles twitch with something that might have been amusement. "Very well." The Admiral's voice boomed through the pod's speakers, translated into Catharan chittering. "Cubs of Cathera, I am Admiral Thalvor. Who is your pack leader?" 17 small paws rose in perfect unison, pointing directly at Rhea. The bridge of the Eternal Vigilance fell silent. Thalvor's crew exchanged glances, their various appendages twitching with surprise. In Catharan culture, pack leadership wasn't given. It was earned through strength, cunning, and unwavering protection of the young. These cubs, orphaned and traumatized, had chosen the human. "How?" Thalvor asked, genuine wonder in his voice. Rhea shrugged, the gesture so human it was almost alien in its simplicity. I kept them alive, sir. I kept them warm. I kept them fed. When they had nightmares about the battle, I held them. When they were scared, I told them stories. Human stories, Catharan legends, anything to keep their minds occupied. When the rations ran low, I made sure they ate first. She paused, her voice dropping. Their parents died protecting them. The least I could do was make sure that sacrifice meant something. You could have rationed differently. Preserved your own strength. No, sir. I couldn't. Her voice was steel wrapped in exhaustion. Because humans don't leave cubs behind. We don't give up on children, no matter whose children they are. It's not in our nature. Thalvor felt something shift in his understanding. He had fought alongside humans in the Vorash War. He had seen their ferocity, their tactical brilliance, their disturbing willingness to sacrifice themselves for strategic advantage. But this was different. This was humanity stripped of weapons and warfare, reduced to its fundamental core, and that core was terrifyingly compassionate. Docking procedures initiated, his helmsman reported. Retrieval in 10 minutes. Thalvor nodded, but he couldn't look away from the screen. Rhea had returned to the cubs, and they swarmed her like she was their natural center of gravity. One climbed onto her shoulders. 2 others held her hands. The rest pressed close, forming a protective circle that would have done their warrior ancestors proud. Corporal Chen, Thalvor said quietly. Sir, the Catharan High Council will want to thank you personally. You've done something remarkable. Rhea's smile was tired but genuine. Just doing my job, Admiral. Someone had to. As the docking clamps engaged and the rescue team prepared to board, Thalvor made a note in his personal log. Humans possess a peculiar strength, not in their weapons or their ships, but in their stubborn refusal to let the innocent suffer. They will adopt responsibility for anyone, even those not their own. This makes them dangerous allies and terrifying enemies. Remember this, the airlock hissed open. Rhea stepped through first, 17 Catharan cubs following in perfect formation, their small paws never straying far from the human who had become their pack leader. And Admiral Thalvor, veteran of 100 battles, found himself saluting an exhausted corporal and the cubs who had chosen her. Because in that moment, he understood why humanity terrified the galaxy. They didn't just fight for survival. They fought for everyone's survival, even the cubs.